One of the very few silver linings, and I actually hesitate to call it a silver lining, but one of the few silver linings of Hurricane Sandy is that finally in this electoral cycle we are talking about climate change, at least to some extent. And so in an attempt to make climate change an issue that actually matters in this election, an organization called climatesilence.org is running ads in 2 swing states, that's Ohio and Virginia, emphasizing climate change in a way that makes Romney look pretty bad, actually. So let's take a look at that.
President Obama promised to begin to slow the rise of the oceans and to heal the planet. My promise is to help you and your family.
Citizen Engagement Lab is responsible for the content of this ad.
That's not playing.
No,
that is not playing. And you know, I was at the convention when that happened. You guys were probably watching it. When he said that, I was so uncomfortable. I was so uncomfortable, not by his saying it, because nothing he says makes me uncomfortable. It's watching the people react to it, you know, and the sort of the ridiculing of something that I think is so serious. And here it is, like in this ad, amazing.
You know, that's interesting, because I actually didn't think that was that bad a line at the convention. And no, not because
the heal the planet part, probably.
Yeah, because it was an overstatement by Obama to say that he's going to help stop the rise of the oceans. If he had stopped there, it would still be a little overstatement, but okay.
It's not. I mean,
but
if you
heal the
contribute,
planet.
That's what it is.
It seemed too grandiose. And by the way, he did no such thing.
Well,
I mean,
that's where you're right. But the other, I mean, if it's his promise that he's going to heal the planet, that's what this is. I mean, they're running for office. They
to the extent that we can
in a
heal
pretty
the planet,
way, and we can. I mean, we can make you know, you don't cure a planet, but you can heal a planet, and that's, you know, I think that's what he wants.
And he did raise fuel efficiency standards. I mean, he did something.
He didn't do nothing. No,
yeah,
that's true.
That's fair enough.
Yeah.
But obviously, people who care a lot about climate change have been significantly disappointed with President Obama. But now the mocking of that issue has become obviously a big problem for the Republicans. And you know, the Democrats wouldn't do an ad like that because they would consider it too insensitive, etc. But an ad like that should be done, because look, the Republicans not only mock it, but they block all actual action, policy actions, legislative action, to do anything about it. So then when we do have these monster storms that are, by all accounts, aided and abetted by climate change, the fact that the ocean is warmer, there's more humidity, more moisture in there, I should say, etc., and there's greater severity in the storms, etc. You've done nothing about it. In fact, you've joked about it, but it ain't a joke. Yeah. Because this is what happens when you don't do anything. So, I'm glad somebody's running that ad.
We have a quote, actually. This is from Daniel Suween of Forecast the Facts, which is one of the groups behind climatesilence.org. And they say, folks who are still reeling from yet another superstorm have no choice but to think twice about climate change. Sandy will force voters to think twice about a candidate who made climate change a punchline in his biggest speech of the campaign. And I think that, I mean, I have only been paying attention to a few presidential elections. I'm not as advanced along in years as I will be eventually. But I think that this is the face.
Don't get
cocky. Yeah. But that was, by the way, one of the funniest lines. Yeah, I'm not as advanced in age as I one day will be.
Yeah.
Like by
it's actually
tomorrow.
true, though.
And also, nor am I.
That's true. But in the past, the ads that I remember seeing, it's mostly very dark, ominous music over text mocking the candidate or pointing out something bad they've done. But now, you just put something that they say over an incongruous background video or footage. It's so effective. And there have been other anti-Romney ads like this about how he was singing a song, and he exports jobs to China, he invests in all these different places
while he's singing America the Beautiful.
It's super effective.
Yeah.
You know, I think the effects of that ad's great. I think the effects of these things are not necessarily for the negative. I think they're for the positive. So I think that if this is going to have a sort of 11th hour change in how people behave at the ballot box, I think it will be because they see the president being the president. I don't think it's because of climate change. I don't think it's all of a sudden this wave of believability. And I applaud that guy. I forget his name, but who said those things, because now that you do see how he ridiculed climate change, that has an enduring effect. That comes into the conversation later on as well. But I think with 4 days left till the election, I don't, maybe he's right, and I hope he is. But I think it's more about seeing the president being president and that changing people's mind rather than the issue of climate change.
Yeah, and I think he's got a good point. There's some chance that this will cost Romney New York.
Yeah.
Connecticut.
That's right. No, I love the people yesterday were saying, in New York and New Jersey could go Romney's way because it's so hard to vote. As if only Obama voters can't get to the polls.
Republicans
because of the
float, actually.
Yeah,
it's
right.
much easier for them.
Right.